Welcome to the channel. Tessie here, and on this channel we discuss so many things, viral topics, my lifestyle, better outcomes for black women and women in general. So grab yourself a glass of something lovely. I've got here a cup of Timbark, my favorite Polish drink, and I've also got a Hermes bag because I went shopping at Hermes. I think it was just this weekend. I actually went to get a wish list for my dream bag. I wanted a mini Kelly in red. My husband said he will work his magic, so fingers crossed. Yes, fingers crossed. I picked up something really cute for my baby girl. So yeah, let's hope that works out. But I have a very interesting video for you today. So click the like button, click the subscribe button, and let's get into it. Grab yourself a glass of something lovely. It's going to be super interesting. Today we're going to be talking about the black community and how they don't plan in terms of, family planning, and how this has a huge effect on the children, especially when it comes to genetic diseases and disorders. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to tell you a little story because I am a Nigerian woman. My husband is Polish. Our daughter is Nigerian and Polish. And I grew up in London. I was born in London, but I went to boarding school in Lagos, Nigeria for about 3 years, between the ages of 13 to 16. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy story. So hit the subscribe button because it's going to be crazy. So I had a lot of experiences in boarding school, as you can imagine. And it was insane the amount of children I saw who had genetic disorders such as sickle cell. Even in my school, and my school was a very top boarding school, I had a friend in my boarding school who passed away, and I had no clue she even died. So what was happening was she was coming to school as normal. Everything was great. She was in my class. She was only about 12 or 13 because it was SS1, and SS1 age group is usually 12 or 13 years old. Sometimes it's actually 14. It could be anywhere between 12 to 14 because we had a 12-year-old in SS1. And she was coming to school every day as normal. Everything was great, She was coming to school. She was very bubbly, very excited child, right? And one day she just stopped coming. And we were like, where's H? Let's call her H, right? Where's H? Where's H gone? And days and days passed. More days passed, and we were all wondering where H was. Where is H? Why is H not coming to school? It was so obvious something was wrong because we could just see her desk was empty every day. And we used to stare at her desk like, where is our classmate? Why is she not here? And she was just that type of person that really didn't have any issues with anyone. She was just a great, nice child in general, right? And day after day passed and we did not see H, and we got scared. Can you imagine? I was only 13 at the time. I started getting scared myself. I said, where's H? And a group of our classmates were thinking, okay, let's go to her house and see if she's okay. Maybe she's unwell. Maybe something's happened. Maybe she's got malaria, because this is Nigeria. A lot of Nigerians have malaria, right? I've had malaria. It's very bad. It's very brutal. I've had it. And, we were like, okay, let's go to her house. Maybe we'll check her house and see if she's okay. So imagine a group of us nominate ourselves, and a group of our classmates go to her house. And guess what we see when we go to her house? Guess what we see? We're expecting to see our friend. Our friend is being buried already. Our friend's already in a grave. She's already been buried. We had no idea she died and been buried. And we were so confused. We're like, how is our friend already buried under the grave when we were expecting her at school? And then we're seeing her family are crying. Her siblings are crying. And then we learn that our friend H had sickle cell anemia. And she had that all her life. And her parents knew. Her parents were both carriers of the AS gene. They both had a recessive gene that causes sickle cell. And they were not actually supposed to get married, because when you have the recessive gene and you mix with someone that has a recessive gene, the more children you have, the more likely one of your kids will die. And in a country like Nigeria, where we have a lot of people with sickle cell, in fact, it's what gives a lot of black people the advantage in malaria, because the sickle cell shaped stops a lot of people from contracting malaria, being bitten by mosquitoes, because they already have weird blood platelets. The shape of the blood cells is not, it's not conducive to malaria, right? And her parents had multiple kids, and she was doomed right from childhood. She was doomed. From the moment this girl was born, she was going to die very early. And it was so painful for us, because I was thinking, why would you, as parents, why would you have a child that, you know, she didn't even get to do anything with her life. She didn't get to graduate school. She didn't even finish the year with us. She never got to fall in love. She never got to, you know, make friends and have fun. You know, all she knew was just, she had been suffering with that sickness that whole time. We had no clue, because she would come to school and act normal, and we had no clue she was on. So in the Black community, they don't think, people have kids and they don't think, what kind of genetic disorder do I have? And they don't, and a lot of Black women as well, this is Black women in the diaspora in the US, in the UK, because this sickle cell is very serious in the US too. I'm going to get into that. It's serious in the UK and the US. It's everywhere, and it is prevalent amongst Black people. And I'm not just talking about sickle cells, I'm talking about mental illnesses as well. Okay, for instance, I'm just going to use this as an example, but I was reading Jane Eyre the other day, and I found it so interesting how Mr. Rochester, his first wife, she was absolutely batshit insane, and her family hid her mental illness, because this was like, what, 1800s? They didn't have any clue about mental illnesses. They didn't understand what mood disorders were. That woman probably had bipolar, or maybe she had another type of mood disorder, right? And they hid her mental illness from Mr. Rochester. That man almost died because he married someone. He didn't bother to find out about her medical history. He didn't. He just saw a pretty face, and her family lied to him because they wanted to offload her onto him. They could not cope with her mental illness. They could not take care of her. They were tired and they were exhausted. And that's why they lied and offloaded her into him. And he ended up losing his sight and having his whole house burned down, because she burned his whole place down to the ground. This is a behavior that I see in the Black community a lot. A lot of Black women, Black men, you get together, you don't find out about the genetic diseases and pasts of your spouse. You don't even know what diseases you have. You don't even know what genetic disorders you have. A lot of people don't even go to get blood work done and check on themselves. You know, in the Nigerian Catholic Church, before you get married, you are supposed to do a blood test. They make you do a blood test, and they make you do a fitness test. It's crazy, but it's very important, because you need to know who you are with and what are the consequences of that when you decide to have children. Black people do not plan. And that's what my friends' parents should have done. They should have actually done a test before they had children. And they would have been aware that, hey, if we have a certain amount of kids, one of them will die. And they weren't equipped to that knowledge. And in the Black community, let me tell you something, sickle cell is more common amongst Black people. In fact, 1 in 365 African Americans are born with a condition, and 1 in 3 are carrying a sickle cell trait. So even if they are not born with the condition, they have the recessive gene. And if they meet somebody that has that gene and they don't get tested, that's how they end up with sickle cell. Okay, remember that sickle cell is a genetic blood disorder, right? Caused by mutation in hemoglobin gene, right? So you have the weird red blood shaped sickle cells. And in a place like the US, where healthcare is already expensive, people are literally in the Black community giving birth to people who will suffer genetic disorders right from the start, because they haven't planned. They haven't checked their spouse. And you know, the worst thing is that because in the Black community, people don't give gaps. A lot of people don't plan how many kids they're having and how many gaps between each child. Because if you're going to plan to have children, you need to think about the gaps between each child. It's normally recommended that you have your first 2 kids close together, because as a woman, if you are going to go back to work, you need to have those kids early so that you can get the whole early years done. They can grow up together, and then you can go back to work and go back to your career. If you have a huge gap between each child, you're going to build your career, then end up having to go back home to take care of the child after you've managed to build your career after being off for a couple of years. So it's just you're going to be going back and forth. But in the black community, they don't think about how many kids and the gaps in between each child. They don't think about testing their genetic, they don't think about blood work in between each child, because having a baby changes your blood work. Some women are healthy before having a baby, and then the first time they have a baby, they will develop some sort of disorder. They'll develop some sort of genetic disease. And this is very serious and very real, right? Now, sickle cell can affect people of any race. It's not just black people, but it is significantly more prevalent amongst individuals of African American descent due to evolutionary factors, right? And so, it helps us in terms of survival against malaria, like I've mentioned, especially in a country like Nigeria. I'm Nigerian, right? And I've had malaria. No, I do not have sickle cell, but I've had malaria, and it is horrific, right? But it has a huge impact on the black community. A lot of black people are carrying diseases they don't know. And a lot of black women, because they are not getting themselves checked, and the black men that they're dealing with, these black men, they don't even get themselves sexually tested. So why on earth would they do any blood work on themselves? Let's be real here, right? But this is serious, because it's even in the UK. In the UK, sickle cell has risen to 130% increase in the last 10 years. That is insane. So did you know what that means? That means more black people have created more people with sickle cell. Isn't that insane? And the NHS are now calling for more black blood donors, because there's not enough black people that have bloods that are willing to, donate blood. And when you have sickle cell, this is a slow death. Now they are working very hard to get people that have sickle cell, stem cell treatment, all those things. But this is a slow death. A lot of people with sickle cell, they have very low life expectancy, like my friend. My friend died at 13. And this is happening in the black community. A lot of black women and black men, they're not planning. They're not looking at their history, their medical history. Like, when you have a child, you are supposed to think about the genetic material that you are giving that child. It's very important. Don't let anybody tell you about eugenics or anything. Because this child is the one that has to live with that sickness. They are the one that has to suffer with that sickness, right? And they're not going to thank you for giving them a sickness their entire life to go through that sickness. They're not going to thank you for that. Black people really don't think about, there is a huge demand for blood when it comes to black community, when it comes to sickle cells, right? And the worst thing is that a lot of people, they don't really think about the child and how the child will, live the rest of their life, how the child will go through suffering that. And not everybody can handle. Some people, they can live longer a little with sickle cell, but not everyone can handle it, right? And there's this idea that people just have kids and they just think, oh, well, if something's wrong with my child, God forbid, we've got medical interventions now, we've got medicine, we've got doctors and scientific breakthroughs, but nobody thinks about actually how to prevent your child from having these things in the first place. Especially in the black community. Black community is only about so the black community is apology after incident. It's never about prevention. The black community is always about, let's apologize, and let's, after the bad thing has happened, let's now apologize and let's now act. It's never about it's never about planning how you want your child's life to be. It's a lot of black men, they make this mistake. You're getting with black men, even men who are not black, whether it's the man is white, Asian, whoever, you're getting, and you're not looking at the history of these men. Some of them, you're not asking them to get tested. You sleep with the men, but you don't know if they have any prior diseases. You're not going with them to these tests to make sure they're getting the test done, because men can fake tests. Men can easily make an AI test, okay? And then it's AI. A man can make an AI test and you think it's real. And it's fake. It's fake. It's positive and they put negative there. You will know. And black women are not thinking about this. And then you come out with kids. Especially now that it's been determined that a lot of men are passing on genes and traits to children that cause autism, that cause severe autism or intellectual disability, especially the older the man. And a lot of black women in black communities in the UK, in the US, in Nigeria, in Africa, in Asia, you are pushed to like older men. you are pushed. A lot of black women, they, oh, older men, that's where it's at. Older men are more mature, more smart, blah, blah, blah. All those myths, all those nonsense myths that we know are not true, right? But you're not pushed to actually push those men to go and check their blood work and see what, because I remember there was a man that wanted to date me. He was 42. At the time I was 24 and he was 42, and this man was telling me that he had some health issues. I said, huh? So I should go and have a child with you when you're 42 and you already have health issues and I'm 24? That would be so wicked. Do I not even care about my child at all? Like, this is what I mean. A lot of black women, and he was a nice man, very wealthy man, well-to-do, but there was no way I was gonna go down that path. And a lot of black women, they don't think about, you know, the urgency of these diseases, these genetic diseases. Because there is medicine does not mean your child will get the medicine that they need. Does not even mean you'll be able to afford it. Does not even mean that your child, the medicine will work, because not all medications work. That's why people still die sometimes, even with medications for sickle cell and other diseases. It's not like 100% cure for all, you know? And now in NHS, they're calling for more blood donors, and, you know, they need more blood types for black people of black heritage who are underrepresented, you know, and they have like a whole Give Blood, Spread Love campaign program with the NHS to help black people, push black people to donate more blood to sickle cell patients. But I mean, it's crazy how sickle cell has risen 132% between 2023 and 2025. What? So that means, what is happening? What is happening? Like, and in the black community, I can't even imagine what it's like in the US, because in the US it's very bad. It's very bad. A lot of people are not talking in the US about sickle cell. They're not talking about diseases, other diseases, inherited genetic diseases, diabetes. They're not talking about all of these things, right? And it has a huge impact on the black community, right? A huge impact. And so as black women, we really need to be careful. Black women need to be planning. You need to be planning. And it's not just sickle cell, it's other diseases. It's sexually transmitted diseases. It's chlamydia, it's gonorrhea. It's like, when was a lot of adults, they don't want to get tested. They're scared. They're too scared to get tested. They have not stepped foot in a sexual health clinic in the last 5 to 6 years. They are sweating at the thought of receiving test results in a text message. They are running away. Anytime they see the text, they're like, what if I have HIV? They are frightened because they have not been taking care of themselves, and they are scared. They don't get tested. They don't make it a priority. And then they just go and have children. Honestly, we need to stop calling it having a baby and start calling it procreation, like I said, because if we call it that, then people will really be more aware of that you're actually creating something. You're actually creating, this is not a doll. This is a whole human life, you know? It's insane. It's insane. So honestly, the black community, wow, I don't even know where to start with. And black women, you need to be very careful, because remember, if you're having a child and the child ends up, God forbid, nobody prays for their child to be disabled. We all pray for healthy children, right? But if you have a child and your child ends up being disabled, that caregiving will most likely fall on your head. I'm not joking. It will most likely fall on your head. I'm very fortunate, right? Because my husband is fantastic. In fact, our daughter is going for her summer holidays in Poland for 1 month. My mother-in-law has just built a pool in her backyard and a playground and bought a dog for my daughter. So my daughter's going to be going over for her summer holidays for 1 month in Poland, and she's going to be having the time of her life. And me and my husband are going to be traveling and having the time of our lives. Right? So everyone wins. Everyone's happy. My mother-in-law is happy because she's excited. She's just retired. And my daughter will be having the time of her life. And me and my husband will be having a 1 month break with our daughter on summer holidays. But a lot of women, black women, don't have that type of luxury, right? You cannot send your child on summer holidays with your family or grandparents, you know, and be sure that your child is well taken care of. A lot of black women, especially if your child is disabled or has a genetic disorder where they need constant care, you need to remember that as a black woman, especially as a mother or as a black woman, this is not just black women, white women, Asian women. If you have a child and you do not think about the genetic health of that child, and that child ends up being disabled, God forbid, you will most likely be doing the caregiving, and it will be very hard. There is no respite. It will be very tough, right? So when we say Black community needs to plan, they really need to plan. You need to think about every facet of your child's life before you have that. Even if the child, a lot of people are unplanned. First of all, right? That's just normal. I feel like at least half of the human population is unplanned. Right? That's normal. Honestly, it's really not that deep. Right? But the reality is, once you now know you're pregnant, start thinking about the genetic health. Start thinking about your own family history. And before you get to that stage, even before you meet someone or decide that you want to start a family with someone, Black women really need to be thinking about who this person is. Like, do you know the genetic makeup of the person that you are laying down with? It's very important. A lot of women don't take the time to think about this, and this is serious. This is real life. Because if you don't do your due diligence, and God forbid, this child develops something that you didn't know the father had, or you didn't know you had, I'm telling you, life will be so tough. So I don't want Black women's lives to be tough, especially because Black women proportionally struggle a lot with single motherhood. They struggle a lot with single motherhood, absent fathers. Fathers are so absent in the UK. There is a huge crisis with 2.5 million children without a father figure in the UK. Especially kids from mixed backgrounds. So we're talking about Black men with white women. A lot of those kids in the UK, I can't tell you how many of those children, they don't have Black fathers. Those mixed race kids. It's just a single white mother. It's an epidemic in here, right? And in the Black community in the US, so many Black women with no father figure for their children. It's ridiculous, right? The amount of them that are suffering and struggling on their own. And some of them even have disabled or sick kids to add to the struggle. Seriously, when I think about it, it's just really, really sad. We really need to start thinking about family planning down to the genetic makeup of your child. Okay? It's very important. So yeah, that's all I had to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think below. Drop your thoughts and feelings, especially for the Black women on my channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I actually read an amazing article on sickle cell, so I'm going to link it in the description, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I shall see you later. Take care, love, and I thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Really enjoy this community. Take care.